Some guy named Kevin Farley sent me a picture of a knife. I don't get it.
Ron asks, Brent is in San Diego now? Yeah, I got sick and tired of the Chicago weather. It was about enough of that. And we've been wanting to do it for a long time. And August the 1st, I think it was, we moved out here. And it's glorious. It's fantastic.
Actually, he got sick and tired of the Cubs bullpen and their hot and cold bats. And he just said, screw this. I'm just going to a team that just sucks all year round with the Padres. And I'm going to live right across the street. And so
I have to show Richie a shirt. Hang on, I'll be right back.
There's actually something to be said about living somewhere with a reliably bad team.
You mean like the Marlins?
Cheap tickets. You never have. There's like no pressure. There's no like emotional letdown. You know, you can just go watch a game, watch someone get the crap kicked out of them for a while.
For decades, the Cubs marketing was, come enjoy the sunshine.
So it's one of those shirts where there's this brand of shirts that's putting out slightly incorrect T-shirts. Things like the Back to the Future shows the DeLorean. It's like 66 miles an hour. Yeah, people love that or hate it.
You just say goal.
Yes. We'd like a guy with a bat. A guy with a bat going goal. Ron says Padres are a poor farm team. Well, they're kind of rich, I think, to some extent. It's the nice real estate down here. They probably have a real nice lease on their ballpark.
It's a gorgeous stadium. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. It's the problem is that all there is a stadium, not much of a ball team.
I'm sure the concerts there are really great.
It's true. I was on the road and I missed Journey and the Eagles. Both Journey and the Eagles played here. And Erik is like, I don't know any of these songs. I'm like, of course you don't. You're too young and you're from El Salvador. But my people,
don't stop believing. Don't.
But she knows Aha.
She knows Aha.
Yeah. Strangely. She's already planning on where she wants to go see Aha next. All right, folks. So
never mind. No. Yeah.
Go ahead and get your tech questions in, and we'll start ripping through your technical questions now at office hours. Donna starts out asking, for small vendor apps, do you recommend spinning up a SQL Server instance for them so that you end up with multiple instances per server, or do you recommend one instance with multiple databases for different apps, assuming you don't have to give the vendor sysadmin rights?
I mean, if they don't have to talk to each other, I'd probably want to keep them as separate as possible.
Oh, look at you.
I mean, who knows? Like different, I mean, they might have different needs for settings. They might have some weird stuff going on. Who knows? Like, for, like maintenance stuff. Who knows if one vendor app might support a newer version of SQL, one might not. If you want to, move up to a new version of some, just if things are truly different, put them somewhere else. Especially VMs just make it so easy to separate stuff out like that without, having bajillion different pieces of hardware and server racks and everything. I would much rather just do that. And then, that makes patching SQL Server easier. You don't have to wait for downtime across a bunch of different apps. One of the servers goes down. You don't have a bunch of apps, though. It's a lot of different reasons that I would keep things as logically separate as possible.
You said virtualize and not a separate instance, right? Those are two big different things.
Yeah. And it does increase your management work. There's more servers that you got to watch. But boy, I tell you what, the first time that you can get a restart in one of them without affecting anybody else, that's kind of magical. So Windows patches, same exact deal. Jan asks, one of our CPU costing queries is started via exec, and it seems not to use an index due to a data type difference between nbarchar and varchar. I've simulated it in SSMS, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Why is it that I would get one query plan in SSMS and a different query plan through the application? 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Before we hit the epic question. So the thing to go look for is slow in the app, fast in SSMS. Fast in SSMS by Erland Summerskog. This comes up constantly, which is why you hear us kind of joking about the length of time on here. Erland's written this epic post about parameter sniffing that goes into the reasons why you'll get different execution plans from different places. This isn't the only reason, though. There are many possible reasons for it. What advice would we give him? I would say, first of all, in terms of the data type difference, which one's varchar and which one's nvarchar? Is it that the table is varchar and the variable coming in is nvarchar? In which case you'd want to make the data types match. But if the table is nvarchar and the incoming variable is varchar, that's not the reason why you're not using the index. Donna asks, SP Blitz.
A good thing that people should go to, that user voice item, the one I posted in Master Query Tuning earlier about the reason why adding the reason why indexes don't get skipped.
Let me go find it in Slack.
Shouldn't be too hard. Or
it wasn't that long ago. Because it was a really good link. Here we go. Got it. You got it? So explain the scenario behind that. As it
right. So our dear friend Josh was reading a blog post about a different database engine. I think it was like RavenDB or something. And part of RavenDB's execution plans is that they'll tell you why an index wasn't used. Like the optimizer considered it and then said, oh, we didn't use it because the key columns are in this order, it was missing some other stuff. So the gist of the user voice item is to explain in SQL Server execution plans why an index wasn't used. Now, granted, on tables where there's a bajillion indexes, this might be a little painful to sift through, but on most normally indexed tables, where people aren't sure why an index isn't getting used for some reason, it's like too many key lookups, key columns in the wrong order, sort something. It's like all the different weird reasons that SQL Server might not use an index, but that to get surfaced out in the query plan so that you at least have a reason from SQL Server why it didn't get used, and you don't have to sit there and go, why didn't you use it? Damn it.
Garrett follows up on our licensing question, or on the virtualization and all that question. He says, but you need to license more VMs. Well, so standard edition, you could do instance stacking inside one VM, but yeah, you have to license an entire host with enterprise edition if you want to run multiple VMs. Usually in most shops these days, you see people running VMs where the host is licensed with enterprise edition. They buy separate hosts just for their SQL servers. Jan says, to clarify, I'm looking for proof that the index is not used when the query is run by the application.
Well, yeah, I would use SP Blitz cache, and I would look in the plan cache for that query. And then I would look at the query plan for that query.
Plan cache?
And I would look at what indexes I use. Yeah, sorry, Richard.
Plan cache, plan cache, plan.
Richie's spending an absurd amount of time looking at execution plans lately. Yeah, so this way, and it has parameters in there where you can filter for specific stored procedure names, for databases, all kinds of stuff, and then find your most resource-intensive queries from there.
And who knows? That query might not even be a problem. You might have much worse other queries. Who knows?
Pablo follows up on the vendor database thing, and he says, do you consider contained databases for the scenario, this first question? Look, the problem is...
I've never considered a contained database.
Only when they come up with questions. Man, there's so many problems. The problem is a lot of vendor databases aren't going to support it. The vendor databases are going to require things that are outside the scope of the contained database. They're going to require linked servers, agent jobs, SSIS packages, etc. They're going to be striped across 3 or 4 different databases. Contained databases is one of those things. It seems like it works really well in theory, and then it just seems to collapse in practice. Donna asks, SP Blitz reports that MSDB backup history is not purged. I swear I'm running SP delete backup history. What am I missing?
I guess I would look for job failures first, or maybe see. I've seen that job get hung up for what?
No, keep going.
No, I mean, it's like that was. I mean, I think MS delete backup history was the one that I wrote a blog post about, making fun of the code in, and it's just so spectacularly bad that I've seen it like A, deadlock, B, get hung up. I've seen multiple instances of it like clash with each other. Just all sorts of bad things. So there's a chance that it's just not running, that it's failing, that there's deadlocking out there from something. I don't know. Maybe you're not running it frequently enough. I know that there's some filter
on parameters.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just mean in Blitz. I know that there's some thing on how far back we check for history. I think it's like 2 weeks or something
It's
like
like
that.
I want to say we only throw it if it's more than 90 days worth of
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I forget exactly what that is. But yeah, this it's terrible code. There are all sorts of reasons why it may not be working.
Plus, too, whenever you see stuff in SP Blitz Index, whenever you see stuff, for example, like the MSDB history not purged, there's a URL next to the warning. You can copy paste that URL, go into your browser, and we tell you what we're checking, like the MSDB backup history is older than 60 days. So you can go run the same queries that are inside SP Blitz. You can go look at the tables and see for yourself that the data is not being deleted, and then that helps you kind of dig into what's going on there. Oh, Donna has another question. She says SP Blitz is reporting implicit transactions on a vendor app. Is there anything I can do to fix or work around this?
Uh, well, first, I mean, you should figure out if it's actually causing an issue. We warn about that up front because there have been several cases working with clients where implicit transactions for something as simple as a select has caused really, really bad blocking chains, like monstrously bad blocking chains for hours. And this is because when implicit transactions open, no matter what the statement is, it's basically saying begin tran, do some stuff, and then I'm going to hang out and wait for the next thing to tell me what to do. And you just sit there with these open transactions, and other queries are trying to come in and do stuff. Other queries might want to insert, update, delete data, other stuff going on, and they're all opening these transactions, and then they're all finishing. Like that statement will finish, but the transactions are still open. Any locks they took out are still open. So first, what I would start with is to analyze the wait stats on the server where it's happening. I would run SP Blitz first with the since startup parameter. Look for lock weights. It will be the first result set will be the wait stats, and there will be all the column of wait types, and then there'll be the category they fall into. Look for any locking weights you see in there. Bonus points if you look at the average milliseconds per wait column and see that those lock weights are happening for a very long time. And that could be a sign that implicit transactions are there and causing a problem. Implicit transactions on their own aren't necessarily harmful. I wouldn't design an app that uses them, and I wouldn't I wouldn't encourage anyone to use them for a particular reason. But them just happening, they could be very well cared for. They could be opened and closed quite responsibly, but we have to that's a good thing to know offhand especially for us as consultants when we're coming in and looking at a brand new server, because we have no idea what kind of nonsense might be going on there. And stuff like implicit conversions that can cause really bad blocking is a good thing to know about.
Yeah, so here's SP Blitz first, since startup equals 1. That first result set is your wait stats. What you're looking for is any LCK weights that are in here in this wait stat column. Now, if it's way down near the end, it may not be that big of a deal. But when you do see them in here, you want to move across over towards the right-hand side, like Erik was saying here, and it'll show you here's the average milliseconds per wait. Wait stats can be really cryptic too, so we include URLs over to Paul Randall's excellent wait stats library over there at SQL Skills, where it'll explain.
He maintains manually.
He maintains manually when he's not doing the accounts payable for his company over at SQL Skills.
Every single one of those.
But yeah, so it's excellent stuff there. So you can see right at a glance if they're a big deal for you or not. The reason why we throw it too is just that sometimes you'll go in and spend all your life doing index tuning or query tuning, not understanding why things aren't getting better, and it's because some yo-yo is leaving a transaction open by default. You also say it's usually me more than you, Richie. The other thing I would say is talk to the vendor and see, did you mean to have this setting on? Because sometimes they want to mimic the behavior of Oracle or somebody else's default databases. Vendor databases are sometimes built to be cross-platform, and maybe trying to mimic somebody else's database, not understanding that it's a good idea over there. It's just a really crappy idea over here in SQL Server land.
And those open transactions aren't just an effect on locking. If the vendor application also wants to use an optimistic isolation level like snapshot or read committed, you're looking at the version store being alive for the length of how basically any one of those, because they're all going to be doing the effectively begin tran. So you're looking at bloating up the version store pretty badly too, while all those transactions hang out wide open. So it's more than on top of the locking. If there's that, and there's other sort of downstream effects that I would probably want to look at too.
Chris says, my manager is against using any third-party stuff, procedures, jobs, whatever. Doesn't want me to install the SP Blitz procs. Same thing with Ola Hollengren's jobs. Have you run into any customers not installing your procs due to compliance, security issues, etc.? How can I convince them otherwise? It's so funny. I was just working with this with a customer who had the same reaction, and I said, well, unfortunately, for us to get data out of SQL Server, we need to be able to query it and get lots of metadata out quickly. Would you rather write your own scripts from scratch, learn all the hard stuff? For example, we've got thousands of hours in SP Blitz, Blitz Cache, Blitz Index. Would you rather start and work for thousands of hours to do it, or would you rather use something free that's open source that's been used all over the world? If you'd like to go build your own, reinvent your own wheel and start from scratch, that's one of those discussions I'll just have with managers and go, okay, so I'll start working on that now. It's going to take me about, 6 months to get to a point where I can build something good. I'll see you back in 6 months. I'm like, no, you need to get started now. Well, I can't. I can't. I don't have it. I don't have any scripts to go through and do it. And I'll tell you a dirty little secret. For a while there, we were having people register via email to download our stuff. Microsoft Premier Support, the Premier Field Engineers, even downloaded our first responder kit. We could see them going through and getting our stuff. If they're going to go download it and use it, that probably tells you something. We've had one of my favorites was a customer sent us a report from Microsoft where they ran SP Blitz and copy pasted the results in. And it's based on this, we recommend that you change these things. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. It's kind of strange, but kind of cool at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, if I were in that situation, my question would be like, okay, so what should I be using to troubleshoot problems? Like if they have a monitoring tool in place that they prefer you use, or if they have some stuff already in place that they prefer you use, then you might not have too much of an argument. But if it's that, like, you're just handicapped, like there's like nothing nothing going on, and they're just like, nope, figure it out when it happens. You're like, okay, well, yeah, that's when I'd probably start pushing back a little bit on that. Maybe that'd be a good use to like spin up a VM, go through some demonstrations of how the stuff works, kind of show that it's not a security issue or anything like that. That we don't introduce any vulnerabilities into the system, things like that. That's probably what I go for. Also, it's Brent has a good thing at brentozar.com/go/askbrent that walks through how to give non-SA users permission to run our store procedures so that they get like the full breadth of the results back without having to have full control of the server. So to like kind of take the sting out of some of the, because we do require higher privileges to look at some stuff. We don't want everyone to have to get higher privileges to do the same thing. So there's a way to create a certificate, grant, end users be able to run the stuff without needing to have elevated privileges on the server.
And Evans asks, what's the best way to troubleshoot CPU spikes? Boy,
Stop spiking your CPU.
Stop looking at my Aurora database.
Yeah, we've been running into some problems there. I see that we had another failover too, and this time it wasn't my fault. So finally, it wasn't my fault.
Well, that wasn't yesterday. That was the other night when I was screwing with it. Oh, it was totally me. It was midnight and I was messing with it. Yeah, I worked it.
So the way that I would start is, speaking of third-party scripts and how easy they make it, I would start with SP Blitz Cache at sort order equals CPU. You don't have to turn anything on. You don't have to change any configuration settings. Your SQL server is just constantly gathering which queries are the most CPU intensive on your SQL server.
Yeah, those look like tough ones.
Yes, BBID. Wow. Hold on a second. This is going to take me some time to troubleshoot here. So then you can go see which ones are the most resource intensive, the problems that are occurring with them, the query plans. You can scroll across and see how many times they've run, how much CPU they use on average, all kinds of stuff. Now, it's not perfect. For example, your server may be under very heavy memory pressure, may not be able to cache execution plans for a long period of time. You might be using option recompile on queries. I can think of a long list of times when you won't get accurate information out of here. But this is usually just the easiest place to go start. Go show me the top queries in my plan cache ordered by CPU.
And if that doesn't give you what you want, then you're kind of stuck waiting for the next CPU spike. And getting like hopping on the server and being able to run like SP who is active or SP blitz who to get a snapshot of what's currently happening on the server, and just hope that the CPU isn't so blown out that they make just kind of like looking at stuff impossible. So like if it's not in the plan cache, or you don't have like the immediate issue in the plan cache, and that's why you have to go start looking at other ways to get information out. Because unfortunately right now, unless you're logging everything, unless you have a monitoring tool, or unless like you have your own kind of homegrown logging stuff going on, where like you have queries piling, like whatever queries are running, gathering that in interval and sticking in a table, wait stats going into a table. It's just going to be really hard to correlate exactly when a CPU spike happened to what was going on when it happened. And that's kind of why monitoring tools make the billions of dollars that they do, is because it'd be really hard to do that on your own, at least efficiently, and then make graphs.
That reminded me too of something that if you're going to wait for the next time for it to strike, here's one of the queries I would run when it strikes. SP Blitz first. It takes a 5-second sample of what's going on your SQL server and then gives you a prioritized list of things that might be causing you problems right now. Like right now with mine, it says no problems are found because there's not a lot going on the SQL server, but you'll get CPU utilization. It'll tell you a little bit about where the CPU use is coming from. Like for example, if the use is coming from outside of SQL server, if there's a backup running, a query is rolling back, there's a check DB, it'll tell you all kinds of things that are common that'll cause high CPU usage. It doesn't get you to the root cause of which query is causing the problem if there are end user queries. There is a parameter you can add for that, check procedure cache, where it'll look at the queries that were running at the start and then again at the end, at the last 5 seconds, which queries ran the most in that 5 seconds time span, and tell you which ones were causing the problem. I don't have any load going on mine right now, so.
Expert mode is another good way to get more visibility into what is going on.
Yeah, it shows you which queries are running at the start. So there's nothing in here now because I have no workload on my system. Then it'll wait 5 seconds, take its sample. Then it'll also tell you which wait stats were big during that time. We'll come back up just a little. Which files you read and wrote to, all the perfmon counters that changed during that 5-second sample. So if you're looking for something specific like forwarded fetches per second. And then again, which queries were running at the end of it as well. All totally free. So that's the end of office hours. Y'all ran out of questions early today, so we'll let you go play around with the Blitz scripts. Have fun, and we will see y'all next week. Adios.
Goodbye.